Dr. Wood, author of the book Miracles in Minutes. The title of this video is Ground Zero. It's the fork in the road between heaven and hell, love and fear, well-being versus death and disease. So one of the things in thinking, critical thinking, is something called root cause analysis, or the 5 whys. I cover a little bit of that in my book Miracles in Minutes. A lot of these topics are how to use my book Miracles in Minutes and try to understand where I got this information from, of how could I get someone out of physical pain, mental pain in less than 30 seconds to a minute. How the hell do I do that? Like, am I magic? No. People used to accuse me of doing voodoo, but it's just from a deep understanding of keep going back, and or like the 5 whys or fishbone, like my back hurts. Well, why? And eventually you get something called root cause analysis, or you see the ripples, like you're standing on the edge of a pond, you see the ripples coming to you, and you go, look at the waves, and it's going to kill us. It's a tsunami. And like, well, what started that son of a bitch? And like, most people try to chase outputs, outcomes, input, process, output. When you have back pain, that's an output. When you have depression, that's an output. If you have headache, that's an output. If you have good health, that's an output. If you've gotten stronger, that's an output. If you got weaker, that's an output. And everybody's trying to fix outputs. You treat the end result, and you're on the wrong side of the equation. So most people will never get there. Now, if you take one step back, the first wave that you see, you're still not there. You have to go back and back and back. That's why thinking's hard work. You have to be patient. There's a lot of research. There's a lot of understanding to get to eventually source, to where all this shit came from. And when we act at source, that's part of my book, Miracles in Minutes. When you open your eyes, you see right away. When you hear right away. If you put the key in the door, that thing opens. And the nervous system is not much different to that thing. And that's how I got Miracles in Minutes, that you get someone out of pain in less than 30 seconds or minutes. But it's also the same thing. The key that opens the door is also to heaven, is also the key that opens the door to death and disease. And that's why I'm doing these videos, is taking, I've read a lot. I was very hungry. I read for 8 to 10 hours a day, and studied and watched videos, and watch a video to that video. And I just spent a lot of time just trying to understand, and hopefully I can then disseminate information to the average person where it makes sense to you. So that way my gift to the world would be helping people who are hopeless, or frustrated, or can't figure it out, to having the life they want, love or good health. Like, you're gonna fail until you understand input, process, output, and critical thinking, and fishbone or 5 why analysis, and root cause analysis. And then I'm just here to disseminate some of that information right now, and hopefully if I die, at least one person got better from it. I did something, for the world, you know what I mean? And it gives me a sense of purpose and a sense of meaning. So that being said, we go over, start at step 1. At step 1, we have to understand we live our life through our brains and our nervous systems. Something is making meaning of the world and understanding what we take in from our 5 senses. And then it produces an output based upon our programming inputs, and then process that we run. And a lot of times we're wrong, okay? And that's good news. The more I think I know something and I'm wrong, the happier I become, because some of the things I was thinking scared the shit out of me. It's called catastrophic thinking, So anyway, let's just cover step 1, where we have a triune brain, triune God, triune brain, with a reptilian brain. As the Bible said, the serpent of old, God said, whatever you do, don't eat of the tree of knowledge, because the serpent, he's a thief and a liar, and he distorts reality, okay? This is the serpent of old, the survival brain. It's what controls our breathing, our digestion, our body, the brain of the flesh. hunger, thirst, horny, sleep, all that stuff. And then above that brain is the mammal brain, and that is our limbic system. That's where our emotions, it is our value system. So the lower brain asks several questions. Should I eat it? Should I kill it? Should I fuck it? That's what it says. That's what it asks, you know what I mean? And then the mammal brain is more like social values, like who's this person? Are they a janitor? Are they the president? You know, fitting in, being part of a group. You know, it's the mammal brain, herd mentality, fitting in, part of the group. And then we move past that, these lower two brains, it's our subconscious, which runs long-term memory and programs, and everything that you've made up your mind about and belief you have is stored in here. And then this first lower brain goes, is it safe, is it not safe? And this is the main brain I'm going to be talking about in this video, but still covering over this brain, the God brain, or the upstairs brain, and that's the words brain. And God said, let there be, you know, seed-bearing fruit and all that stuff. And you said, I think I'm going to go to college. And you declared who you're going to be. And I'm a runner, and you became a runner. And then you trained as a runner because you spoke it into existence. So the same way God spoke the world into existence, this brain speaks our life into existence to a large degree. And it's very powerful information that we have the power at our fingertips to do a lot of these things. But until we take the light, God, light is all light, consciousness, and shine into the dark, subconscious, what are we saying to ourselves, and become aware? This is aware, light into the dark of programs that are running. And I'm going to use this brain here to help understand this unconscious mind and use it to scan the body to ascertain certain things, and to use this brain here to seek to understand. This is the brain of love. I hear you, I see you, I seek to understand. And we're going to go try to hear and understand this lower brain, the reptilian brain, where all information comes in through our five senses, and then it makes up a story about it. Okay? And it's asking, is it safe or not safe? Am I okay or not okay? Okay? And if we get triggered that something, and some of this stuff could be happening on a subconscious, unconscious level, where, let me give you an example, that you were a child or younger, and you were walking through the woods, and all of a sudden a snake came out and almost bit you, and you freaked out, and you thought you took off running because you thought you were going to die because of the snake. Okay? So how does the brain create memory? This is very interesting. You know, like if I asked you what you had to eat for lunch last Wednesday, unless you eat the same shit, you probably don't remember. But if you were putting whipped cream on a girl's butt and licking it off and putting chocolate somewhere and having a real good time, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I remember. I had some whipped cream and some chocolate in the bedroom. You know what I mean? And I had so much, it was high emotions, you know, you remember, because this is how we remember things, whether it's through laughter or through pain or through, you know, pleasure. The brain starts to engraft just, you know, eating, which could be mundane. But if there's high emotion to it and then all the five senses become engrafted, and it creates like a memory. Okay, so the snake almost, your brain remembered, it took in, so your conscious mind it doesn't take in everything that's going on at once. It doesn't do that, but it went into the brain, and it went into the unconscious, subconscious mind. And so the day that you were in the woods and the snake almost bit you, the brain ingrained or engrafted the smells, whether it was honeysuckle because it was spring, or the smell of fall leaves, and then you heard things, the crackling or something, and the feel of the forest as you're walking through it or wherever you were, the temperature, and so it can rate something like a gestalt or a heuristic, which is, or you could call that like a prejudice. Like now anything that kind of looks like that, sound like that, smelt like that, felt like that could trigger the old memory, such as now you're walking through the woods and there's a stick and you get triggered and you didn't stick around to find out if it's a stick or a snake, but I saw something on the ground that was dark and long, about the same length as the old snake, and I wouldn't stick around to find out. The trigger went off like stepping on a landmine, and the program just took off running. Well, in doing so, it automatically activated the threat brain, which when we get threat, I mean, whether it's a snake getting ready to kill you, breaking up with your boyfriend or girlfriend, financial situations, mom dying, dad dying, dog, you know, like the car broke down, you didn't get, it could even be cognitive dissonance. You were hoping for one thing, you got something else. It triggers the threat response, which trigger anger, which it says Wonder Twin powers activate. So this is the switch I'm talking about. We're automatically fired into the amygdala that said not safe or not okay. And as soon as we're not okay with what's happening or the situation, whether from long-term memory or a current situation that we didn't really think through, it doesn't matter whether I'm aiming a gun at you or you're walking past a stick, but your brain inferenced it as a snake through a gestalt or a past memory, or some smell just kind of set you off and you get the EBGBs. What happened? Well, the threat brain got activated. The amygdala fired, and we go into flight, fight, freeze, or fawn. That's what happens every time. And in doing so, the trigger that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, it automatically activates the hormone system, and also does some stuff between the brain and our gut. So we actually have, not only do we have 3 brains in our head, but we have 3 brains in our body. That we have our heart. Surprisingly, through the research of the vagus nerve, that the heart sends more signals up to the brain than the brain sends down to the heart. And then there's below the diaphragm, or subdiaphragmatic, the gut. You know, your gut instincts, or your soul, heart and soul. And then we have this thinking thing up top up here, okay? So, through the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is known as like a vagabond or a wandering nerve. It's part of the parasympathetic nervous system, so I'll kind of break out sympathetic, parasympathetic. So when we get a sympathetic response, it's like masculine energy. You're gonna go to the gym and work out and push the weights and I'm gonna run. You know what I mean? Like it jacks up, okay? And then the parasympathetic's more like feminine, like rest and digest, and it's kind of soft but strong. You know what I mean? Like make you a sandwich and repair and rejuvenate and restore and nurse back to health. And the sympathetic's kind of like expression of power and tear down. Okay? So we need both. We need day and we need night, and we need man and woman, and there's a balance between the nervous systems. But when we get a threat response, the signals, what is a threat? Well, I need to fight you. Okay, so what happens? So the vagus nerve flips off the gut. Because digestion, it's rest and digest. Digestion, how much blood supply does it take? A lot. When you eat food, blood's going to the gut because you're breaking food down, and then, you know, it's not what you eat, it's what you can absorb and incorporate and integrate into the body. Because if you have poor digestion, the food didn't digest, so you become mineral deficient and you become diseased. You're not getting enough calcium, you're not getting enough magnesium, you're not getting enough vitamin A, and blah, 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 blah. And then you can develop a dis-ease. Not, again, dis, not, ease, not okay. Notice, even the word disease is not okay. So the brain, if it makes a signal like, oh, it was a stick and I was triggered, I was not okay with seeing that stick and it reminded me of the past and I got triggered, and then the signal went down to the gut and turned off the gut because I needed to move all the blood supply, because digestion takes a lot of blood supply, and I sent it to my arms to fight the snake in case I needed to, or throw a stick at it, or, you know, punch you, or blah, blah, blah. And I also sent, turned off the gut because digestion takes a lot of blood flow, and I sent the blood flow to my legs to run away. And I was scooter-doo-doo out of there, and so that way the stick didn't get me, which I thought was a snake, but it reminded me of what happened in the past, you know. So you can see that was not a response, that was a reaction. But all these things have pushed the button, dis-ease, not at ease, or not okay, caused the gut to turn off, and 70% of the immune system is located in the gut. um, 90% of the serotonin or well-being is located in the gut. And then 70% of dopamine, which is pleasure and motivation, is located in the gut. Okay, so we're not focused, we're apathetic, we're depressed, and we just lower our immune system, and we're higher risk of autoimmune diseases and cancer and stuff like that. And also the cortex turned off because it needs a lot of blood supply. The lower two brains are still working, and we're not getting enough oxygen to the cortex. And not only do we trigger adrenaline, which makes the arteries constrict, and so that the blood can move faster, just like if you have a smaller hose, the water could go through it faster with more pressure. So they would call it like high blood pressure. And just a lot of stuff's going on here. And then we get an adrenaline high, like just from taking, speed or, caffeine or meth, methamphetamine, because we like it, because we like the high, from the adrenaline. Adrenaline high is like I'm jacked up, and you kind of feel euphoric from all the adrenaline, until it wears off, and we keep doing this. And some people are addicted to drama and addicted to stress, and people say they don't like stress, but there's a payoff for it, and it's happening unconsciously, subconsciously, that we get adrenaline, and we love adrenaline because we feel alive and we feel really awake and we're really euphoric, and then also the release of cortisol, because if this is a life or death situation, I cut your arm, you might bleed, but the cortisol makes the blood thick, so that way you don't bleed out. And then you get sticky blood, which could, if that keeps going on, that could lead to strokes and blood clots and, clogged arteries and blah, blah, blah. So I'll show like just pushing the button, that's why I'm looking at this switch, at the amygdala, where it's safe, not safe, or polyvagal theory over here, with ventral vagal engage into happiness, joy, and play, and come outside and make friends and be, show our whole selves and be vulnerable, versus, withdraw into our shell and, fight something, run away from something, deny the truth. I don't want to hear that story. I can't handle the truth. I don't want to deal with reality. I got all these things going on in my head. And then it has more adrenaline and more cortisol. And, we get in a vicious loop. And then the cortisol, lowers our immune system, increases belly fat, makes sugar dump out from the liver, because we need sugar for the muscles for that fight and flight, run away, because that's what muscles burn. And then we have so much sugar in our system, eventually we become diabetic and high glucose, and the immune system becomes weaker. We have an increased thinking, we overthink, we get twitching of eyelids, you get lack of bile, which helps to digest food, you get bone loss, less tolerance to stress, problems with inflammation. Your body's in flames, which means it's on fire. If something's on fire, it burns down. You get anxiety, you get facial hair, insomnia, hair loss, male pattern baldness, muscle weakness, low vitamin. Is there anything wrong here? That's what happens when you push the button. So God said, surely. Why you call me Shirley, like the movie Airplane? Surely the day that you eat of the tree of knowledge, let fear or the devil get your soul, and believe everything that you think, as the day that you will die, Adam and Eve. Because fear kills and love heals. Pretty simple. Surely the day, if the high adrenaline, high cortisol, hypertension, well, you develop strokes and heart attacks. You get all that blood sugar run through, become diabetic, you get amputations and diabetic wounds and ulcers, diabetic neuropathy. It ruins your nerves. You can get numbness and tingling. You got all the increased pressure through the system from muscle tension, from high adrenaline. You could herniate disc in your neck and your back, tear your rotator cuff. You start losing body parts. You're going to be in pain. Then you get more high adrenaline, you get more cortisol, more pain, more suffering. We can see it's just a vicious loop. Then the gut turns off, and even poor digestion, so we're not absorbing vitamins, nutrients. Surely the day that we eat of the tree of knowledge, or believe everything we think, and let fear rule our lives, surely is the day we'll die, because more adrenaline and more cortisol. And if we look at it, that some facts here. It's not pick on women, and I actually love women to death. I have 3 daughters and stuff like that. but we can't deny reality that 2/3 of all Alzheimer's patients are women. 80% of all people diagnosed with the autoimmune disease, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, systemic scleroderma, like psoriatic arthritis, like these autoimmune diseases, which there's no treatment for, just except autoimmune drugs and stuff like that, and which can increase your risk of cancer and leukemia and all kinds of shit. Like, how did all this shit happen? Like, I go back to the switch where it originated from. I know all these ripples and diseases are coming out, or poor health and anxiety and depression. Those are outputs. But what started all of it? It went all the way back to the switch at the amygdala, okay? At the part of the brain that looked at safe, not safe, okay, not okay, love or fear, connect socially with others, which actually turns our social networks for healthy human relationships are located in the cortex. Love is not a feeling. And when people say that, like, you don't know what you're talking about. Because the feelings are like a fart in the wind. They come and go. Well, see, like, let's suppose we're dating. And you go, do you love me? I go, what's a love to you? You go, it's a feeling. I would go, well, hold on a minute. I'm not feeling it. You're like, what? You don't love me? Well, come around in a couple minutes. Maybe my feelings will change. Because we're not always happy. We're not always sad. Like these ideologies actually cause problems in relationships that would, if you really love someone, you'd be in a continuous state of bliss. And this feeling will go on and on and on. And that's perfectionism to some degree. We're trying to create utopia where we're always happy, never sad, always in love, euphoric feeling, horny or whatever it is, or want to rip your clothes off or lick you, or your face up and down, or to pet you or groom you or something, or some sort of, heart's going pitter patter, my belly's going butterfly. You know what I mean? Like nonstop. You know what I mean? Like that is like, you're never allowed to be sick either. You're not allowed to be, even if you have the flu, you still have this love feeling going on. Like when people say that, it just revealed their ignorance and their poor understanding of what love is. Because love is a choice, it's a decision, it's a commitment, it's a responsibility, it's a skill. And you commit to the person. And because you love them. If you really love somebody, like if I love my children, and I love all the patients I've ever worked with, and most people I work with, which is I give to them, and I don't need, I don't need my kids to love me back. If you need your kids to love you back, you're giving to get. You're not doing love, you're doing business. That's called debits and credits. And most people view it that way, sadly to say. And it creates a struggle because then we try to control. And control, we use force. And guess where we are again? We're not in love, we're actually in fear. And we're actually used in fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. What's fawning? To make friends with. Oh, you bribe the bully so he doesn't beat you up. You bribe your children to do things. You do things because you're afraid of what, for other people, because you're afraid what other people might think of you, that you're not a good person. Which is also fawning. But where are we? At fear. At dis-ease. At not okay. And then if we were to slow down and look at it, even our breathing, the difference between health and disease, this is from the Buteyko method, or the book Oxygen Advantage, which Dr. Buteyko noticed that people, when they were closer to death, their breathing became very short, shallowed, and like a death rattle. You know what I mean? If you've ever been around somebody getting ready to die, their breathing sounds really different. So this is one way to kind of determine how well your nervous system is functioning by something called the BOLT test, which stands for Body Oxygen Level Test, where you breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, then pinch your nose, and then on your watch with the second hand on it, how long before you need to breathe again. You're not trying to set a world record. It's just when you would naturally breathe again, and that's your BOLT score. And anything below 30 seconds, you're at dis-ease, not okay. So even though you're telling yourself strong, independent woman, and I'm okay, if you're breathing short and shallow, you're saying one thing, words brain, but your body is sending a different signal. And I can tell you what it's going to do with the words brain. It's going to dump that shit because It's not going to deny the physiology. If it feels like you're having a heart attack and your heart's skipping a beat and surprisingly going, it's not a heart attack, it's only indigestion. I can tell you who's going to win. It ain't going to be your words brain over here. You're going to the hospital or you're passing out on the fucking floor and they're calling the ambulance real quick and like somebody get the defibrillator out and start doing CPR on this son of a bitch. But I'm okay. You know, like it doesn't matter how okay you say you are. The body's going to win in that scenario. And the same thing, that metaphor that is used right there, when people say strong, independent woman, or I'm good enough, and keep trying to repeat this mantra to themselves. It's like pouring water in a bucket that's got a hole in it. Oh, I put the water in, strong, independent woman, I'm good enough, I'm feeling it. Like, but if your core belief is you're not lovable, no matter how many people tell you they love you or that you tell yourself you're good enough, if you don't go to root cause and look at the subconscious mind, that trigger is going to pop up and keep playing until we look and dismantle this IED, improvised explosive device. Dismantle this trigger to this landmine where we get triggered and boom, it blows up and fight, flight, freeze, fawn takes off. It's not going to change. You have to diffuse the situation. And that's what I'm trying to show. Like, how do we get into chronic health problems? How do we get into relationship problems? How do we get on the road to love and well-being, and where all this occurs from? Everybody's trying to treat the end result of trying to change behavior, trying to change the relationship, where versus going into first, understand where's root cause, where it originate from, and how does that switch of safe, not safe, love, fear work, and what regulates it first, which is breathing. And then let's evaluate the breathing. Breathe into the nose, breathe out, pinch your nose. And then, how long before you have to take your next breath, which tells you how resilient or robust your nervous system for stress tolerance. There are times that it could go up or it can go down. You're having a lot more stuff going on and, you're at mental stress and you're getting breaking up and then you're thinking about going to the gym and working out. I mean, maybe the gym might be the best thing. You got stress upon stress. Like, I'm not saying don't work out. I mean, the question is, sometimes what we think we need to do to help ourselves isn't. We're not really understanding the situation and the problem. We quickly only look at one or two waves, and we need to go far enough back to get to root cause analysis. And we have a poor understanding of who we are. We're not really connected to our own body. Anything that's uncomfortable feeling wise, anybody will talk to you about love, sex, horny, like pleasure, winning the lottery, becoming king of the nation, a trophy, winning the ball game. People would love to talk about that. We don't talk about death of our parents, our dog, our grief, our loss, our sadness, our anxiety, depression. See, those are bad, Dr. Wood. And that's how the lower two brains label things with a judgment and condemnation that there's good emotions and bad emotions. It's actually, there's things that we might call pleasurable. It's our assessment of it. And that's what we've been taught and believe. And we're, as families and a lot of family units, no one's ever taught how to deal with difficult emotions. Instead, we take drugs to numb them. We get overwork, workaholism to distract us so we don't have to think about it, watch television, avoid the subject matter. But the thing is, like, emotions are like food. If you don't process them and you keep eating food, you throw up. And what happens is we throw up on the ones we love and just blow up, or we blow up at work, or we become emotionally constipated and we don't feel well. So some people explode, throw up, turd flinging monkey, and take all their shit out on their partner or their kids or family members, or they get diarrhea and shit all over them. You know what I mean? Again, throwing because they're not taking ownership and confronting, facing, taking a look. They're in a state of denial, and the nervous system's wiped out. And again, it's more adrenaline, more cortisol. So your relationships are failing, our physical health is failing, our well-being is failing, and we have less happiness. I mean, it feels a catharsis to, like, you know, if you're really sick and you just like, puke. I feel better after puking. You know, all that emotion stuff I didn't want to talk about. I threw it all up over my friends and girlfriend or husband. You know, like, and we don't need to apologize after we throw up all over them. Clean them up. Take responsibility. But the thing is, we're still sick because we're not. We're a fear of facing our fears and going back to the switch of where, and we're failing to see that the devil got your soul. And he's not looking to improve your life. This brain, I'm not saying it's 90% true, but not all true. It loves to create stories. It's very entertaining. I mean, what did the devil do to Adam and Eve in the garden? Like your garden, your mind, you plant that in my mind, in my garden, these thoughts. And it's to create self-doubt. He didn't go to Adam, he went up to Eve and said, did God really say if you eat the tree of knowledge, you'll die? You won't die. God's holding out on you. You don't need him. Upstairs brain. Why wait? Love is patient, love is kind. You don't be patient, you know, wait for God to talk to you and share. He's holding out on you. Why don't you just have instant gratification and have it all now? Sex now, anything you want now, instant gratification, pleasure now. And I'll just make up a story for you about what everything means with all these biases, and I'll use past experiences to kind of weave it together of what it means through this gestalt. Like remember this snake that almost bit you? The stick in front of you is a snake, and it's the same thing. You know what I mean? You don't have to figure this out. And for the rest of your life, every time you see a stick in the woods, you'll just take off running. You know, you won't think. You know what I mean? And so you're limited your whole life by sticks in woods that you can't walk that way. You have to go back to the car, go back. The trip that you had planned in this hiking trip up the mountain with your loved one, and you went to see the top of the mountain and this wonderful experience to make love at the top of the waterfall. That shit ain't happened today because there was a stick. It reminded me when I was younger and almost got bit by a snake and almost died. You know? Well, I guess you'll never have that fucking experience again, huh? Or this, so you start to become very limited in your life, and what becomes limited, you're not free to express. You become withdrawn, and then there's more anxiety, and there's more depression, and there's more adrenaline, and there's more cortisol, and then there's more of something called a catabolic state. Hopefully it's in this one. No, was it this one? Or no. Sorry. Let me look at my shit. Yeah, so like when emotions go high, thinking goes low. Okay? Notice sympathetic and parasympathetic. You know, it's being chased by the snake. Sympathetic, fight, flight, freeze. Just showing you like nervous systems. When we get afraid, humans' posture changes. See, a lot of things that happen in the mind will affect the body. It's not one or the other, like you see a psychiatrist or you see a priest or rabbi for this problem. Over here's my spiritual problem. Then I see the psychologist for my mental health problems. And then I see I see my kidney doctor for my kidney problems. I'm not saying that these aren't useful things, but the body's holistic and integrated. And that when we get fear, we try to cover, when we get our heart broken, we'll cover our heart. Our posture will change. If I get afraid, it's like the turtle will withdraw. As human beings withdraw. You see someone's posture goes from, you know, like this. You know what I mean? Their head's stuck out because they're stuck in a state of fear. And their mid-back rounds because they're trying to protect their heart because they got the heart broken. Because our emotions, you know, like, you broke my heart. You know, like we say those things. We know there's something going on here. And we're protecting our organs or our viscera, the things that are important to us. You know, my soul. Trying to protect my soul, trying to protect my heart. And it changes the posture and we stay like that. Because our mind is fixed and rigid, and because the way we're thinking, and we're not expanding our thinking, and we don't know how to turn on the cortex and change the breathing to have the cortex turn on and to self-soothe and regulate to get that switch that's stuck in the on, fight, flight, freeze, high adrenaline, high cortisol, causing insomnia, weight gain, and things of trying so hard to lose weight and doing what the doctor told me, shit's not working out. But you're stuck in there and you're retreating and you're in a state of captivity. And you can even see this mammal here called an orca that in captivity, doesn't look like he's getting an erection anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like his dorsal fin went down. But when he was set free, he free-wheelied. You know, that dorsal fin went right up because he's meant to be free just as God made all human beings. And we live in the United States of America to be free, to make our own mistakes and our own thoughts and our own ideas and our own perspective. And to part of being free is we have to learn how to lean into fear with hedonic adaptation. So what's hedonic adaptation? It took one drink to get tipsy, then it takes two, then it takes three. Well, it also works for if you lean into fear, fear is less fearful. It's going into pain, which is, Dr. Wood, no. Now, when I have pain, I take a pain pill. You know, if I have a headache, I take a headache pill. If I got the back pain, I take the back pain pill. If I have anxiety, I take the anxiety pill. You know, it's like an anti-anxiety pill, Dr. Wood, just like an antibiotic. You know, like one thing it's very good marketing from the pharmaceutical industry, I'll tell you that. But long-term use of anti-anxiety and SSRI medications, plenty of research out there that anything's anti-cholerogenic or reduces acetylcholine increases your risk of dementia by a fucking lot. Remember, I told you 2/3 of all women who have Alzheimer's disease, of all people who have Alzheimer's disease are women. A lot of women are on drugs. Are women bad people? No. Women are very caring, but they care fucking too much. And they don't have any boundaries around their love. And just this is a simple skill called self-soothing. Of learning how to comfort yourself and learn how to be with yourself. And then using a tool like hedonic adaptation to lean into fear that I want this. There's a great book out there called The Tools by Phil Stutz and Barry Michaels. I could say something, it's one thing, but a picture's worth 1,000 words. So Phil Stutz in the book, The Tools, they have a thing about fear. Like when we have fear, it draws the picture of the guy walking up, you hit the wall of fear and you turn around and you go back. That's called you stuck in your comfort zone. People don't teach how to lean into fear. And Phil Stutz says, you know, it's like you turn whatever you're afraid of into just like a black cloud and you say, I want this, and fear sets me free, and then you pull the black cloud into you. Which, like metaphorically, physical wise, it actually changes our nervous system, and through hedonic adaptation that you couldn't run from here to the mailbox without feel like your lungs getting ready to pop out of your chest or gonna throw up, but you continue going into the pain running, and next thing you know, you're running 5 miles. Next thing you're running a marathon. And now you're getting a runner's high. You turn pain into pleasure, the runner's high. What used to hurt running from here to the mailbox because you kept going into pain and the pain became pleasurable. That's hedonic adaptation. And it's you kept drinking, and now you drink a lot more, and you can't even get drunk anymore. You got the initial high from the heroin, hedonic adaptation, and you had to keep taking more and more heroin to try to get to the same high. And then since the heroin is a depressant, it turned off the breathing centers. You fucking die because it suppressed the breathing centers and trying to get to the same pleasure before from the small dose of heroin, but due to hedonic adaptation, your body adapted. You need so much heroin that it actually killed you. Hedonic adaptation works for or works against. Just knowing how hedonic adaptation works. And it's like counterintuitive to learn how to deal with that switch of to face our fears, but not try to bite them off at one time, and not fight our fears, and not run away from our fears, and not numb our fears, and not deny our fears, but to accept them and step into them with faith. Part of that is learning how to use the breathing to calm ourselves down and to choose this moment. So, what is it? Something forte? There's a Latin saying, and I can't remember it off the amor forte or something like that. It's like love of your fate. So Marcus Aurelius, you know, one of the Stoic philosophers, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. And Seneca them said, you know, like in Epictetus, like if we fight what life happens, we're fighting life, we're not going to win. And then we're at the switch, not okay with what's happening in life, but we just accept what life's happening. It is what it is. And we choose to step into life, even in an uncomfortable situation. We have to choose it. Like if you love somebody, as one girl I once dated, I told her I didn't need her. Kind of pissed her off. But she's not getting what I'm trying to say. I told her, like, I could be with, a lot of girls, you know what I mean? Like, but I'm here because I want to be. In other words, you're not forcing me to be here. I'm choosing to be here because I want to be here. There's a difference between I need you and the difference between I want you. I can tell you which one I'd rather have someone say to me in the bedroom, I need you, or versus I want you. I'll take that one. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, not only in the bedroom that I want you, but when we choose life, things that we've labeled bad, it calms that part of the system down. It's called engagement. Remember? Safe, not safe, engage, disengage, run away, fight, flight, freeze, deny, and distract ourselves or medicate ourselves or numb. It's a different circuit that turns on the upstairs brain. As the Bible says, it's impossible to, without faith, it's impossible to please God. Faith, like, to me, it's like courage, my understanding, and courage isn't, not being afraid, it's being afraid and stepping forward anyway. It's choosing it. It's accepting it without trying to fix the outcome to what we want it to be. It's just taking the step into the unknown and relying upon something greater than ourselves. One of the great books I read, I've read a lot of books, and very rarely do I read all the book. I read bits and pieces, and I take away what I want, and I just fucking move on. But one of the books that I read the whole thing in almost in a whole day, which is rare for me, was The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And it's kind of like a very good metaphor, or the way God does things, like, or the Sufi poet Rumi, where, he took a step forward and some things happened along the way, and you just kept taking a step forward. God doesn't give you what you need and then you move forward, because that would be ego. He asks, or life, or God, or the universe asks us to step forward, and what we need will be found on the trail, and it's already waiting there for us. It requires a fucking shitload of courage and faith, and it works out how it's meant to work out. And if we already knew everything, we'd be about life and what was going to happen. Like, why pay attention? Why show up? So this is all like a metaphysical, spiritual body thing. Like, if you really understand how the nervous system works and how our brains work and how the hormone systems work, it's kind of all integrated. And there's understanding about this principle and this philosophy and this principle and this philosophy and this perspective. I'm just trying to build a picture around it that, ology study of. There's theology, which you might call like religion or whatever, or Buddhism or Sufism. And then there's endocrinology, how the hormone system works. And there's physiology and how the body works. There's a lot of ologies, but like, it's just a lens of looking through something, but it's kind of like putting the big picture together of like the blind man and the elephant, or these all blind men, one's holding the trunk, and he's like, it's like a snake, and the one's holding the tail, it's like, no, it's like a rope, and the other one's like at the body, it's like, no, it's like a goddamn brick wall. It's huge, like the Great Pyramid, it's like it's big. Well, who's right? Like, you can see this different perspectives and viewpoints of the viewpoint of the tail of the elephant is different than the viewpoint and nose of the elephant versus the ear of the elephant versus the body of the elephant, but all of it together makes up the elephant. And life is much like that, is all these, they're trying to bring together in these different viewpoints and perspectives, trying to have a conversation that's pretty goddamn big, and understanding something that's kind of complex, and then trying to simplify it down to how does the brain work and what's really happening underneath. And, it's not really your fault. And once you understand some of these principles, and then I'm not telling anybody what to do, and showing you like what regulates the system. The breathing's first, and then we have to use engagement, ventral vagal versus dorsal vagal, or run away versus choose. And then, what is real courage? It's not the absence of fear, but stepping forward anyway and using the tool from Phil Stutz and Barry Michaels of how to deal with our psychological anxiety, and then also looking at, going down underneath and, things that are inhibiting us from moving forward in life. You can use the book tools to move into the fear, but we can also, eventually, that we don't have to keep using the tool, where we can just let go of and neutralize a past event. I'm not going to get into how to do that in this video, but this is all about like looking at ground zero of like everybody wants to enter heaven, because all the problems we have, like heaven's already here and peace is here and the kingdom of heaven's within you, is what the Bible said. But it's all these ideas and fears that we have are actually clouding. It's like if you have your wedding ring on and you're in a lake and it slips off in the water, you start freaking out and you muddy the water. You can't see the ring. It's there. And the same thing happens when we get freaked out. We get triggered. The brain becomes very active, like a hurricane on the ocean, and muddies the water, and we don't think clearly. We don't act well. We make bad decisions. We become impulsive. We slap the water. We muddy the water more. We try harder. The hormone system's going even more adrenaline, more cortisol, which leads to more death and disease. And the harder we struggle, we either wear ourselves out or freak ourselves. And we freak ourselves out and wear ourselves out, versus just breathe, float, and then trust, let go, which is very hard, to calm the nervous system down. And the system already knows the way home. It already knows the way to heaven. It's already been there. It's just covered over with the minutia. So health is there. I'm not saying we don't have to do anything health-wise, like eating better, but you can eat all the healthy food in the world and all the vitamins, but if you're freaked out and you're all the time, you're not, the gut's turned off, so you're not absorbing, and the digestive organs aren't working right to help break down some of the stuff, break down the vitamins and break down the healthy food that you're eating and be absorbed, because you're just under so much tension that the vagus nerve has the gut turned off, and the bile from the gallbladder and the insulin from the pancreas and all these other digestive enzymes and stuff is not really playing well down there. You're eating all this healthy food and you're still fucking sick because you're stuck in that threat response. So we have to start regulating that nervous system. And that's, again, like the other video I did the other day, that's where kindness and self-compassion and love and grace and mercy, where to have some forgiveness and space for our humanity. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to fuck up. It's okay to be a sinner. It's okay to make mistakes. If we don't, then we make it not okay to be ourselves. And that's kind of, now we're fighting against ourselves and attacking ourselves. Because to get to love, the assumption is you have to be perfect. That's more fight, flight, freeze. And that's more you're not okay. Not okay to be loved until I become perfect. You know what I mean? So that's, anything that says not okay. Not, ease, not at ease, not okay. That's more disease, psychological, physical, mental, spiritual. So hopefully this video helps you to understand some philosophical concepts, and it just makes sense in everyday life of understanding the switch, understanding the nervous system, sympathetic, parasympathetic, a little bit. I'm not asking you to be an expert. Understanding what happens to the hormone system, which we push the button. Understanding psychological strategy we take, fight, flight, freeze, fawn. What happens to our vision, what happens to our hearing, what happens to our breathing. And then just become aware, and then get the breathing under control, and understand if you do have a health problem, of where to go. And it's go to the vagus nerve to learn self-soothing, to learn self-compassion, to learn maybe Phil Stutz and Barry Michaels, the reversal of desire, which is the tool that gets you through something you need to do and you're not doing it, and just pull it into you, and knowing that courage is actually being afraid and doing it anyway. So it's Dr. Wood. I hope this video helps you.